Välkomna. Now we're good to go. Välkomna, welcome. My colleagues and I here at the American Swedish Institute, we are delighted to welcome you here this evening. We also wish to acknowledge the Dakota people on whose land which we meet. The American Swedish Institute is a museum, it's a cultural center, it's a gathering place for all. We were founded by immigrants. We are for our immigrants and our neighbors, and we are with all of you in community. I want to thank you that you are here this evening to support one another, and please know that you are always welcome at the American Swedish Institute, if it's to visit or to gather in community. At this time, I want to welcome Minnesota Senator Omar Fateh, and thank you again for coming.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening and for all that you've been doing in these recent months. My name is Omar Fateh. I'm the state senator representing Southside Minneapolis District 62, which includes the American Swedish Institute, which we're the space we're using tonight, and I want to say thank you to them for providing us with this space. And today also we have our local elected officials and our civil rights advocates joining us for a conversation about what we've been seeing here in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities in the state of Minnesota, with the ongoing ICE operations and the continued constitutional violations we've been seeing for our residents and our neighbors. I'll start from my right. With us today we have from CARE Minnesota, Mr. Jelani Hussein, who's with us tonight. We have Michelle McKenzie, who's the Executive Director of Advocates for Human Rights. We have Commissioner Angela Conley. We have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. We have almost said Congressman, Council Member Jason Chavez. We have University of Minnesota Board Regent Kowsar Mohamed. We have Soren Stevenson, who is a council member for Ward 8. And we have Representative Aisha Gomez, who represents District 62B, who is also a 62A, now a 62A, who is also a Southsider. And I'll open up very briefly also myself. Today, there was a hearing, a field hearing held by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and other members of Congress to talk about what we've been seeing. And at that hearing, I met a man whose daughter is a US citizen, and a couple of days ago, she was taken off of the street. She's in detention somewhere, and her father doesn't know where to find her, what to do, or whether or not he'll ever see her again. And so what Minnesota is experiencing right now is an occupation by a hostile force, a group of armed, masked agents who have sworn loyalty to an authoritarian government. Their tactics are to victimize us, to use violence and intimidation against Americans to achieve a political aim. So let's call that the same thing that we label it in any other country, in any other context. This is state-sponsored terrorism. This invasion has killed one of our neighbors, Renee Good, and put others in the emergency room. Minnesotans have been unlawfully detained, and others are in lockdown in their homes, hiding from the police state in our streets. ICE is staging its assaults in every corner of the state, targeting schools, hospitals, and daycares. This occupying force is told by its leaders that it has total immunity from the law, while it breaks half of the amendments in the Bill of Rights every single day. These injustices are hitting everyone, and not just our immigrant neighbors. I keep meeting young people who were born here, United States citizens, who feel nervous about going out without a passport in their pocket. And that shouldn't be happening in America in 2026. So now we're at a low point in American history and a pivot point for our nation. It's only by coming together now to demand and defend our human and civil rights that we can guarantee those rights will be there for our children and our grandchildren. Tonight, we'll hear from leaders of every level of government and our trusted advocates about what's happening, what we need to know, and what we can do to help to get together, to work together in these tough times. And with that, for his portion, I'll pass it off to Jelani Hussein from CARE Minnesota to talk about what we can do to provide us information about coordination around our neighborhoods that we've been seeing with each other, and how we can support one another. So please welcome Jelani Hussein.
Thank you, Senator, and I will start by greeting you all with a greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum, and peace and blessing be upon you all. It's a really honor to be with you all here today. Thank you so much for showing up. I've been reflecting, as all of us have, after the murder of George Floyd, and we're back feeling a sense that we are back on national spotlight. I've been reflecting on this moment for all of us, as we all are, and I have to say, more neighbors have saw each other's neighbors. We have come together in unique ways, and it was incredibly inspiring as we hit the streets and we speak up. And it was also inspiring this morning to hear from other congressional leaders, as Congresswoman Omar is hearing, and Jayapal, and they were reminding us of how important Minnesota is to the nation right now, and how inspiring it is for all of us to do what we have been doing. And how honorable it is for us to say we have someone who took the ultimate sacrifice for standing up for their neighbors, and Renee Good. And I hope that the murder of Renee Good and this incredible moment of pain for our state and our country may result in finally this country moving us forward into an immigration reform. But with all that, I would not be minded to say something that's important right now, since we're in this incredible space and community. That is the word ufta. Trust me, as a Somali American, the word ufta is something to run away from, and for Swedish and Regents, everybody would say ufta. I think it's a word that can encompass a lot of things for all of us right now. But here's what I'll just say in my few remarks. Number one, there is no one in our community who should not take the Constitution for granted. And that is why every single one of us have to educate ourselves, empower us with knowledge to be a textbook walking to support our community. You should know the Constitution, you should know the laws, and we should be working to improve those laws to make our state and our nation better. This is the challenge in this moment. A lot of people are easy to just say, somebody else should know. But no, all of us can learn together. We need everybody to become an expert. I remember I shared with you a story that happened in one of our rural towns when we were working on the census in 2020. And what was inspiring is this woman, Somali woman, who wanted to, initially we were trying to get everybody to fill out the census, and it was so inspiring for her to just step up and say, you know what, give it to me. And her teenage daughter went into that apartment building and worked it to make sure every single person was gonna fill out the census. And that is the kind of what we're seeing today. And I saw that in Cedar Riverside with mothers who are out there patrolling, and I've seen the young people patrolling. I saw the energy in St. Cloud, where nearly 300 people filled the city hall and were able to speak up and speak truth to what is happening. I'm seeing it everywhere. I just came from a mosque earlier today that I gave a sermon at, and there was almost 25 people outside. And many of those people probably never walked into that mosque, but it was nothing in that moment that told me that they were new to the space. They were walking around like in the mosque as if it was their own backyard. And I think this moment, it's a moment, and I believe it's gonna fade away and we're gonna get out of this. But this moment we should cherish it even. The fact that we are feeling this pain, and I hope every single one of us, we become better. I am an urban planner by trade, and I know since the Bowling Alone book, I don't know if you know that from the 2000s, suburbia and the design have created us not to exist in our own universe, in our own hallways and neighbors, and so these moments of incredible stress are bringing us together, and that's something that is inspiring. And so, and we are winning. I know no matter how people feel difficult, we are winning. We're winning this moment, we're winning each other, and most importantly, we're winning back the country. But, there's a big but. And that but is commitment is what we need, because it's a long road. And I'll tell you, politicians will tell you it's a bell curve like this. The moment somebody or some moment comes, anger and frustration and focus is at an all-time high. But the moment things start to move and time starts to go away, people give up. So I hope there's something inspirational you bring to your own home that reminds you every single day the commitment that you're making today for a year from now, and even 2 years from now, and 3 years from now. So that this moment will change us so we can change this country for better. So that's something I will ask. And then the other part I will say is, I know Advocates for Human Rights, BIRAC, and Immigrant Law Center, and Unidos, and all these incredible organizations in our community, COPAL. I'm telling you, and I've seen the staff and everybody, we are exhausted. I'm telling you, I usually do not pick up my phone, I'm being honest, because I just can't answer every single phone. I have to pick up. I don't know if there's somebody else on the other line where that someone is knocking on their door. That's the reality. So we are gonna do everything possible, but we need you with us. Volunteer with us. Show up at the office. Help clean the office if you need to. Just be with us. And I'm telling you, that is how we're gonna get through this. When we are with each other every single day, and we hold each other up, and we fight every single day. And I don't want to hear anybody saying, I need to go learn from them. You can learn on your own. Most of you can Google it, ChatGPT it half of the day, whatever it is you take. We need every single person in this state to be educated, because when ICE officer shows up, you should be able to tell him or her exactly what the law says, because you've got it right in front of you. This is where we're gonna be. We're gonna be empowered by knowledge and an incredible heart and a community that will not give up. That is what I'm seeing in Minnesota. So I'm here just to say to you, all of you, let's keep up the fight, let's continue the fight, and let's continue to check in with each other. I know there's a lot of fear in our community. There's a lot of people afraid. And many of you have not heard this, even though we're trying to break through the news. The last 4 days, or perhaps the last weekend until this week, we have seen now refugees being picked up. People who have come here legally, who have been vetted for years. In fact, some of them being vetted by the Trump administration during their time, who are here legally, who have followed every path. In fact, they've applied for their green card. Some of them are waiting. Some of them even have like a notice that their green card is coming, and they're being picked up. So they're escalating because we're doing a great job. But now we also need to escalate. Thank you so much.
And Jelani ran away. He'll be back. I want to thank him for his remarks. And the next portion, I'll pass it off to Michelle McKenzie, who will provide the Know Your Rights training. On the back, if Matt can come back, there's examples of a judicial warrant and an administrative warrant, what each one means, what's needed when an ICE agent is at your door, in the workplace, etc. And I want Michelle hopefully to walk through some of the tactics that they've been using illegally. So with that, I'll pass it to Michelle. Thank you.
I'm like the opposite of Jelani in so many ways, and most importantly, like he's a foot and a half taller than me. So I think I'm adjusted here, and hopefully you can see me. Thank you so much for pulling this together and letting us come here tonight. As the Senator said, I'm at the Advocates for Human Rights. We are a human rights organization based here in Minnesota with the mission of protecting and promoting internationally recognized human rights. We have a legal defense program and have worked with asylum seekers since the early 1980s. And we are driven by volunteers. we all have a part to play in defending human rights, and we all have a responsibility to do it. When I do this kind of training, I often say the Constitution, you know, it's like the workout I never do. I should be doing sit-ups and push-ups to strengthen my muscles. We have to be working out our constitutional muscles all the time. As Jaylani said, they have to be habit. We have to have muscle memory. This is hard to do in a crisis. And so practice when we're out of here tonight, role play with your families, simulate what's gonna happen. And this is for every single person in this room. The Constitution needs us fighting. We also have to exactly call this what it is, and the words that we are using are arbitrary, prolonged, indefinite, incommunicado detention. They are enforced disappearance. They're extrajudicial execution. These are gross human rights violations, and they are happening right here, and we have to be human rights defenders. We are all human rights defenders in this room, and that's what we're here to do. So I'm going to talk about your rights under the Constitution, your legal rights, with this caveat that in the moment, your rights are in the hands of the authority, right? In the moment, you are going to be making decisions about whether it is safe or not safe to exercise a right. If your right isn't respected, if your right isn't protected, if you are ignored, the way our Constitution works is you're fighting it out after the fact and suppressing the evidence and getting accountability. This is deeply unsatisfying. In the moment, it means that you might be having your rights violated. We are seeing that all the time here. That doesn't mean you don't have them, right? And we have to hold that in our hearts and souls as we're doing this, but you also have to consider yourself. I am an under 4'11" middle-aged white woman. My rights and the way I exercise them are gonna be different than Jaylani's, right? Because he is perceived in a way I am not, and I am perceived in a way he is not. That's reality. You have to calculate that yourself. So we all have the most important right if we are encountering law enforcement and they are asking us questions. They can ask anything because they have the right to free speech, right? And they will ask anything, and they'll ask it in crafty ways. They may tell you that they're DoorDash. They can lie to you in an investigation. That is all okay. What we have is the right to remain silent. And this is this is the one you have to practice. If you're a talker like me, you really have to practice it, but you have the right to remain silent. You can say, I do not want to talk to you. I am remaining silent. You have to just own that, right? If you are a person who's out doing constitutional observing, you're out, you're being confronted, not with deportation, but with arrest, right? Arbitrary arrest with no legal basis, but arrest nonetheless. Has anybody seen the Instagram account, Shut the F Up? Right, okay. So there's these two civil rights lawyers, and their whole shtick is, when the police are talking to you, just shut the fuck up, right? That's the entire thing. Remember that, just shut up. You don't have to say things. Don't say things in the car when they're driving you. We've heard numerous reports of ICE having 3 agents in a car with 1 person. Don't say anything. Just keep quiet. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you've watched TV, you know that. So do be quiet, okay? Now, that is balanced against the fact that if you are being pulled over and accused of not being a citizen of the US or being illegally here or whatever, while you don't have to carry citizenship papers, you may want to show them to get away. That is okay, right? If you are trying to de-escalate and get away because your kids are waiting for you at home, you can show your passport and get out of there. They should not be asking anybody Do you have your passport on you? We are not at a border. They do not have the right to ask us if we have our passports. But if they do, you can choose to get out of there and show it. Who here, yeah, I don't want to say this, but I carry my passport on myself all the time. I make my husband, who's a naturalized citizen, carry proof of citizenship on him all the time. We are two white people. That is our practice. Carry your citizenship proof on you. There you go. All right, you've got your documents in your hand. But you can choose. If you're a US citizen, there is no law that says we have to, right? This is the conundrum we're in. If you're not a citizen, you are by law required to be carrying your immigration paperwork on you. If you have a green card, it's always been for 100 years that you have to have that green card with you. So you're supposed to carry that. Now we are seeing Border Patrol roaming around pretending that they are at a border, which they are not. We are in the interior. There is no border, but they want to know, where's your citizenship papers? Well, are you crossing an international border? It may feel like it if you're going to St. Paul, but you are not, right? That is actually a domestic crossing. You can go freely into St. Paul at any time, people. It's okay. Be safe. But we don't have passport checkpoints in this country. So you, as a citizen, may not have that on you. If you are taken into custody, we understand you'll be taken to a US citizen holding space and questioned there. That arrest could happen to any of us. If you are a non-citizen, having your papers on you may still result in you being taken into questioning. So have your papers on you, but also you can remain silent, okay? Never carry false papers. That is actually a crime if you're using somebody else's immigration papers, so don't do that. You have one really fundamental right in this country that I think the framers of the Constitution and the Revolutionary War were really, really, really passionate about, and that is your home. Your home is your castle, right? If there are really strong constitutional protections about law enforcement coming into your home. That means your home that you own, your home that you rent, your apartment, your dwelling. It also means other private spaces, but homes are really, really important. That's why people are staying in them right now. You have the right to not open the door. I hide from my neighbors all the time if I don't want to be bothered. You know, knock on the door unless the government has a warrant signed by a judge, not by ICE, authorizing entry into your house, including your apartment number, your unit number, and it's actually for this time period, not like 5 years ago when some other person lived there. That is the only way you are compelled to open your door. If they have an ICE warrant, one that they make up for themselves, by themselves, sign by themselves, that may give them the right to deport somebody or to detain somebody. They have some administrative warrant issuing power. That's fine. It does not let them into your home. If they don't have a warrant and they bash down your door anyway, all you do is say, I am not consenting to a search, and you try to stay out of harm's way. You just can't, you can't stop them. They are gonna outpower you. But that is what lets them in the house legally. Everything else doesn't. What can screw you up is if you invite them in, okay? We normally invite people into our homes. People knock on the door, come in, just don't let them in. You may have seen these red cards out in the room. You can blow this up and tape it on the inside of your door. So you've got those rules right in front of you. What do you do? I'm not letting you in this house. And what happens if they stop you on the street? I mean, this is the dangerous spot, right? And this is where I'm in a really different position as the short white girl. If you are not under arrest, you are free to go legally. You can ask, am I under arrest? If you are not, you can walk away. You shouldn't run away if you are free to go, but you can walk away. These encounters are not normal. We're seeing people swarmed, we're seeing people frightened, we're seeing people different directions shouted at people. You have to calculate your safety in that moment, but if you are not under arrest, you are free to go. That is your right. Same with driving. You have to pull over when the police are behind you. If you don't know who they are, you need to pull over. You can call 911 if you are not sure who's pulling you over to make sure that they will show up and that it's really ICE. You don't want to flee in your vehicle. You can refuse to answer questions. You can refuse a search. You can, if you are the passenger, refuse to turn over papers. You don't have to be licensed to ride in a car with somebody else who's driving. But again, we know ICE is violating these rights. So what happens when they break down your window? What happens when they tackle you to the ground is a matter of safety first and fighting your constitutional rights afterwards. The really frustrating thing in this is that when it comes to immigration enforcement, unfortunately, the Constitution often gets thrown out the window. It's untethered from the legal process. And you might have your rights violated and not have a way to ever remedy that. So if you because they just aren't gonna take you to court. Just try your best if you are detained to get in touch with somebody. There will be lawyer lists inside facilities to try to get your name out. Have a safety plan with people so they know if you're arrested. There is an app you can download called Ready Now by Human Rights First. You can preload it with messages to your friends, family, and lawyers so they know you've been detained. Calculate your safety and stay strong in detention. It can take a long time before you are out, but you don't have to sign away your rights to be in this country. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that presentation. That was extremely helpful. And she showed a red card. Those cards are available at the front, as well as whistle kits, as well as Know Your Rights pamphlets that are all provided by CARE Minnesota. So on your way out, if you'd like, please grab some. And now we'll go on to our panelists. First, we have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who represents CD5. Do we have microphones up there that we can pass around? Thank you. And so, Congresswoman Omar, welcome. Please let us know what you've been hearing at the federal level, what you've been seeing on the ground. I know that you've been handling a lot of immigration issues prior to this, but what are some of the things folks can do in emergency situations? And also, when they approach your office or reach out to your office, what are some things they need to gather prior to that? Congresswoman, thank you. What was it? So when folks reach out to your office with immigration-related questions, what are some things like documentation that they need to gather? I know that, for example, there's a privacy release form and things like that, so welcome.
Thank you, Senator Fateh, for the incredible work that you are doing and for convening us. I'm really grateful to be here with you all. As Senator Fateh said earlier, today we were able to hold a field hearing in I guess I made my update. We were able to hold a field hearing. We had 29 members of Congress who were able to come in from 18 different states. They were able to hear from the mayor of St. Paul, the mayor of Minneapolis, and they were able to hear from our Attorney General Keith Ellison about some of the things that they have witnessed. We also had a panel of advocates and leaders from UCLA to NIDOS to CARE Minnesota. Jaylani was on that panel. We also heard from two American citizens who were detained, Ms. Beggy and Mubashir, whose arrest went viral when he was detained as he was on his lunch break in Cedar Riverside, screaming that he was a US citizen, actually had documentation on him. These testimonies were really powerful. I think for me it was the first time I'd heard. I know Michelle just spoke of the fact that there is a detention cell at ICE detention centers for citizens, which again, that sentence doesn't make any sense. If you think about what the jurisdiction for immigration enforcement and border control and what these detention centers are set up for, this is not a place where a citizen should ever be in or be held in. We heard that both of them, after they were handcuffed, arrested, taken to the detention center, that their ankles were shackled. Again, maybe it's because I watch too much TV, but those of you who might be in law enforcement or know people in law enforcement, it makes no sense to put ankle shackles on people who are already in a cell and have no criminal record, and that you've decided to unhandcuff them, but somehow you think their ankles should be shackled. And so we are hearing obviously a blatant abuse of people's constitutional rights. We know that ICE and Border Control have really run rogue. We know that we have a little over 3,000 agents in our city and across the state. It is not just Minneapolis, although it does feel that the occupation is heavy here and in St. Paul. But we've heard accounts in Wilmer, in Rochester, in St. Cloud, in Mankato, in Marshall, and many other places that are not coming to mind right now. I got a frantic text message for one of my state representatives in the 5th Congressional District in Spring Lake Park, where they showed up to the high school as the students were being let out for lunch. So it is a terror that they are creating in many of our communities. We heard from teachers and parents in Minneapolis schools who are scared to send their kids to school. There is a challenge as Minneapolis tries to navigate this in trying to have a hybrid system, because they don't have the resources to continue the longer that this occupation goes on. They might be in jeopardy of losing resources as well if the kids are not present in the classroom. And so this, we know, is very unattainable, and I'm really grateful to the Minnesota Democratic delegation for staying on top of it. We know that when our office does not have the capacity to react because someone has been snatched and they are not a direct constituent of ours, because our office's resources are tied to you being a resident in the 5th. It's been our senators, Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar, who we have leaned on to send that information. We know that our Republican delegation is not helping in any of their residents that are being detained. I would say the most alarming thing, and Michelle talked about this, and so did Jaylani, is that they said about 5,300 people who have been allowed to come into the country previously vetted in their own countries of birth under refugee status, who have come up either for their green card interviews or for their citizenship interviews, are showing up to do these interviews. and they're being told they cannot be granted the interview any longer. Instead of saying you can come back another time or giving a reason, they are being detained and they are being shipped to another state. And so we have no way of being able to get a release form from them. Their lawyers, even if their families were to obtain counsel for them, have no way of being able to find them. We know that the ICE locator tracker has not been updated, and so oftentimes families and many people who work on immigration, and those of us who have been immigrant advocates, when somebody is disappeared in the community and there is the assumption that they are undocumented, it was easy for you to go to this portal to be able to see, if they've been detained, where they're being detained, and take emergency action. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. And obviously, for many of the citizens or legal immigrants that they are detaining, they don't want to share that information because it is illegal for them to put their names and their information on those trackers. So we are getting cases where a U.S. citizen is detained. They are detained for hours, sometimes days, where we're getting phone calls from their families and loved ones or their co-workers or their neighbors, and we have no way to know if that has happened or not. Local law enforcement has been a little bit helpful in that because they are getting these possible kidnapping phone calls. And sometimes, they might be able to provide information for us. But I think for me, that is the most scariest piece because we know that these are masked men that are showing up and snatching people. And I don't know when the dust settles, how many of these people might actually be kidnapped victims, where harm has come to them and we might not be able to have proper information for law enforcement to investigate what has happened to them, because oftentimes law enforcement will tell you the first 48 hours are crucial in finding somebody who's been kidnapped. And then lastly, I will say, yes, if you are to reach out to our office, we need a privacy release form. You can preemptively submit one to our office. Oftentimes it expires within 90 days. And so if you do submit one to our office, just update it every 90 days and share that information with those that you know in your community. And then I will end by saying, this is happening because our Republican counterparts and the president decided to take your money that should have gone to healthcare, that should have gone to food stamps, that should have gone to housing assistance, that should have gone to rural hospitals, has gone to create this terror by funding ICE to the tune of $170 billion. So every time you see this paramilitary that is occupying our streets, remember that it is money that could have helped our neighbors afford their lives, get the health care they need, make sure that there is cancer research for our babies, and to make sure that our neighbors in rural communities don't have to drive hours and die while they seek health care. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our Congresswoman, and I can speak to her responsiveness. A lot of times, folks from the immigrant communities reach out to my office with immigration-related issues. And as a state senator, a lot of times I can't do anything about it. So that partnership, that connection with the federal level, with folks like our Congresswoman is very helpful and she gets the job done and she's very responsive. So I want to say thank you so much to our Congresswoman. Next, we're passing it along to our county commissioner, the one and only Commissioner Angela Conley. And so, Commissioner, what are you hearing on the ground from a county perspective? Can you tell us about how the county specifically is mobilizing around maybe some of our immigrant neighbors that are afraid to access some of our county services? So, welcome.
Absolutely, thank you. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. The fact that you're here means a lot and it matters. We have to show up and keep showing up in this capacity to support our neighbors. So I want to touch on a few things. One of them is that Hennepin County is kind of where you go when you need supports for mental health, health care, our hospital, when you need food support, benefits, things to help you maintain your own well-being. And what we're finding is people are no longer coming to their appointments, making their SNAP renewals, making their cash assistance renewals. A lot of people are applying right now for emergency assistance because they can't pay their rent. So there's a real push for an eviction moratorium from the governor. I support that. I support that wholeheartedly. Because I don't want to see more people out on the street because they can't afford their rent, because they aren't going to work, because it's not safe to go to work. Hennepin County has just stood up Operation Reconnect, which is a real-time whole government response. All of Hennepin County has mobilized, including our crisis support. So our COPE program goes directly to the people. What we've heard at Hennepin, what I've heard directly from my constituents, is that the neighborhoods directly surrounding 34th and Portland are in dire straits right now. They are hurting really bad. And we have mobilized psychological first aid, emergency trauma response to that neighborhood twice. That will be ongoing for as long as this occupation is ongoing. Because what we care about is the well-being of the people who live in these communities that ICE is occupying illegally and tormenting us and causing irreparable harm. And we can't even see what the full impact will be until they leave. We're just responding as we get hit with something new, and that's every few minutes is what it feels like. Our emergency mental health response is 24 hours a day. We've got a website up right now on hennepin.us that explains what that emergency response is, what services are available, and how you can access them. That's one thing. I think the second thing that Hennepin County really wants to do is keep our patients safe. We have been trying for weeks now. You all are aware that there's ICE at our level 1 pediatric and adult safety net hospital, okay, our trauma center. It's the only one in the region. Earlier this summer, the Hennepin County Board, our 7-member board, took over operational oversight of this hospital to keep it stabilized because the federal government decided that they wanted to cut Medicaid to hospitals. When you hear the Congresswoman talk about rural hospitals closing, that's not a dream, that's a reality. And it's not just rural hospitals. We took over ownership so that the hospital that we operate downtown, your safety net hospital, stays open. Right now, we have an illegal occupation of that hospital. We have been trying. Leadership at both the county, leadership at the hospital, legal leadership, security leadership has been trying to get ICE out of our hospital because we have not been presented with the United States District Court judicially signed warrant saying that they should be there. We don't have that. And they're being told from their supervisors, we can be here. Well, no, they can't, right? So options are being talked about that I can't talk about yet. But just so you know, this is what's happening. ICE is acting outside of the law. The third thing that I want to touch on is that ICE has left children in the home by themselves because they have broken in and taken their parents. Now, Hennepin County also operates child protection, right? And typically, if a local police officer is going to arrest a parent or goes to a house to issue a warrant and there's children, they'll call child protection to come and get the kids because there's kids here. ICE isn't doing that. I've heard of 2 instances where kids have been left in the house alone. So what Hennepin County right now needs you to do is to let us know, and you can reach out to me, Angela Conley, Hennepin County Commissioner, District 4, I represent the South Side. You can reach out to my office. If you see something, if you see anything like this, and so many of you are following them and recording them, which is your legal right to do so, blowing whistles when they're around, if you know of any children that have been left behind, I need to know about that because we are prioritizing kinship care. We are going to the house. Who's your uncle? Who's your auntie? Do you have a sister? Do you have a cousin? And we're just making sure those kids get to family. They won't be in child protection. We are not opening up any cases. We just want those kids to be with their family. Because this is how ICE operates. So our goal at Hennepin right now, again, emergency operations are on, they're on right now. They're on as of this week, right? We've sent messaging out on social media. We've been sending phone numbers out for COPE emergency response, but we are mobilized. We are ready to take care of you. We are ready to utilize whatever legal recourse we have, but most importantly, our residents need to feel safe. They need to feel like they can leave their homes. They need to feel like they are supported. Right now, that's not a reality. And so that means that we need to come to you. Hennepin County has also mobilized family home visiting. People aren't making it to their doctor's appointments, to their OB visits, and that's not okay. So part of that mobilized response is to get out to residents. If they can't come to us, then we will just come to them, right? So I think what I want to close with is just, our mission, our entire mission as a county is to make sure that you're healthy, right? That you have strong well-being. And when our community doesn't have that, then we, just as a whole, are unhealthy. It's not good for our physical health. It's not good for our mental health to be under the level of stress that we have been under since we have been occupied. This is stressful to our bodies. It is dangerous to be under the level of stress that we are. So we will continue to provide resources to residents who need them. We will continue to be just a phone call away. I will continue to be a phone call away. I will continue to work with my elected colleagues here and our immigrant rights organizations in community so that we are all connected to give you what it is that you need as residents and to get folks who are already locked up at Whipple the resources that they need. And if United States citizens continue to be harassed and arrested and detained for doing legal things like observing, I know the ACLU will continue to fight. I know our Attorney General, Keith Ellison, will continue to sue. Right? These are our avenues. We'll continue to take them on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our County Commissioner, Angela Conley. And what she touched on is really important because there are people that are very afraid to access these various services. And so you don't have to defer your health care. The county will come to you. You don't have to defer your maintenance of your well-being, your mental health. The county will come to you, right? And so I want to say thank you so much to our county commissioner. And with that, next up we'll pass it off to the state representative for the South Side, Representative Aisha Gomez. Please talk about what you've been seeing, as well as some of the neighborhood responses that we've been part of. Aisha.
Excellent, thank you so much. Wonderful to see you all. Thank you for being here. Whether you've been, monitoring what's going on in our community for the last 6 weeks and out on the streets, or whether this is the first time stepping into this space, we're so glad that you're here. Okay, who's wearing a whistle? Hold it up if you're wearing a whistle around your neck right now. All right, that's pretty good. For the rest of you who are not wearing a whistle right now, let's do it. There are beautiful whistles available out there. And the reason that we're wearing these whistles is because they are a tool and they're a symbol of the fact that we are out here protecting our neighborhoods, we're protecting our communities. That is our charge in this time. And so it's a symbol and a tool of what's working, which is neighborhood rapid response, community defense, standing together, taking care of each other in many, many ways. So if you hear a bunch of whistles, if you hear a bunch of car horns and you're like, what is that? Go running. Because we have to be there in like 2 minutes to intervene in these situations sometimes. When we say rapid response, that's what we're really talking about. And so we all have to, as we're moving about our days, We're seeing these masked secret police abducting people on the street, and so we all have to be aware and be ready to make noise with your car horn, with your whistle, with your voice. It's your right to tell these people what you think of them being in our neighborhoods. And best believe there are people out there telling them, and that's our right. And every second that they are worried about a US citizen blowing a whistle in their face, or calling them a murderous traitor, or telling them to get the fuck out of our neighborhoods, every minute that they're doing that and that they're like freaking out and worried about that is a minute that they're not snatching up one of our neighbors. And so that is time well spent. That is time well spent for all of us. Sorry, I had to make notes because my brain is like fried. Okay, so Jason's been out in the street a lot, I've been out in the street a lot of people out here have been in these situations. And so like a couple days ago, Jason and I were both on 35th and Park, where they cut a woman, she wasn't even an observer, she was trying to go to the doctor, US citizen. They cut her seatbelt, they pulled her out of their car, they carried her by her ankles and her wrists to a car, and they detained her. And they did a similar move on another observer, and I got maced that day. Did you get maced that day? Of course you did. You couldn't have been there and not get maced that day. Well, I mean, that's not exactly true because that's in violation, or that's counter to what I'm about to tell you, which is, if you see these chaotic scenes, they're intense, they're scary, they're chaotic. They look worse on the videos. I just want you to know that. I was at some intense thing and I'm like, oh, that's not as bad as that thing I saw a video of, and people who were at both of them were like, what are you talking about? The thing you just went through is 5 times as bad, but it just looks worse on the video. And so, there are people who get arrested, but there are also, like, what you don't see on that tight in to the intense area video is that like 90% of the people there are standing back, they're observing, they're taking footage, they're blowing their whistle, they're using their voices, they're using their horns, and they're safe, But, so each of us has to do a risk assessment, right? Like, what is your vulnerability in this time, right? Are you somebody who has family or people very closely associated with you who are at risk, of this demonic system that they have put together to deport our neighbors? Or do you have like a little kid at home? If you ended up in the federal building in the American Detention Center for 6 hours, it would really like mess somebody up. Then you're somebody who's maybe gonna participate in this in a different way. If you're profiled, right? Because we know that they're profiling people based on race, based on accents, you're at greater risk in this time. If you're not somebody who falls into those categories, like, this is the time to show up. Our grandkids will be asking us what we were doing if we were in Minneapolis in January of 2026. And I'm gonna be able to tell mine that I was doing a lot. And so, we have to do a risk assessment, we have to be real, but the thing is that they are being brutal and they are accelerating their tactics, they're accelerating their violence. They extrajudicially executed one of our neighbors in the streets last week. We know what these people will do. But they want us scared. They want us to run back in our houses because of their brutal tactics. But that's not what Minneapolis is about. That's not how the South Side plays it. We don't do that. We're not going back inside. We're called to be courageous in this moment. And like on the narrative battle, we're winning. People saw this. When there's like 20 videos of something, you can't lie about it. You can't lie about it. So now's the time to step in. And I'm sorry I went on so long, but if you're a Minneapolis resident and you're not linked up with your neighbors who are doing this work, go to Defend 612 on Instagram or Google it. I think it's defendthe612.org. and link up with your local rapid response. And I just really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Gomez. And Aisha is someone that actually pulls up every single time. She shows up, and she's courageous and she's fearless, and I'm honored to serve with her in the same district. Next up, we have Representatives Soren Stevenson, who represents Ward 8, and actually the incident, the murder of Renee Good was on the border of Ward 8 and 9. And so, what are we hearing from the city level? What are you hearing, Councilmember Soren? So please, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm council member from Ward 8 in,
Councilmember, sorry.
it's okay, it's okay.
I downgraded him, sorry, Councilmember.
They upgraded me. I needed to right size what was happening. Yeah, I represent Ward 8. 34th in Portland is right on the border between mine and Jason's ward. So Renee Good was killed in my ward. Renee Good was killed in Jason's ward. I have been spending a lot of time going around to the different schools, particularly Green Central, which is Spanish immersion school, and talking to parents, talking to people who are looking out and watching out for our kids while they're in school. And I've seen my job in part as to encourage people and to get more people connected. I cannot be in every place at every time, but I can talk to a lot more people in a short amount of time than most people can, just because of where I sit and how many followers I have and whether someone will put me on TV or not. So to that end, I want to say this, is that what Aisha is doing, what Jason is doing, what many of you are doing, it is working in the moment. It is working to keep your neighbors safe. We need you out there, and we need you to get your friends and your relatives and your neighbors connected, because when we are connected together, we will fight off 3,000 pussy-ass ICE agents. We will do this together. We will do this together because they cannot deal with the fact that there will be tens of thousands of us, united tens of thousands of us, working to protect our neighbors, working to protect workers, working to protect our local immigrant businesses. So please stay in this fight and get others in it as well. I just had office hours earlier today, and I was in a wealthy part of my ward. And I had very old people coming saying, how can I get involved? And so if we have our elders coming saying, how can I get involved? I think all of us can get involved. And so that's you, that's them, that's everyone. Be connected with your neighbors. Know what you're doing. Get connected with Defend 612, because together we really can do this. And I just want to end by saying we're having this discussion over are immigrants welcome here or not? We're standing in the American Swedish Institute. I am the son of my ancestors are Swedes. Why is my immigrant story glorified, whereas the immigrant story of so many of you, so many of my colleagues, so many of our neighbors is vilified? It's because of gutter racism. It's because of bigotry. We know this, and together we are going to fight this off. Because this history, this long-running history of racism in this country, this can end with us. It can. We have to believe that. We have to believe that, and we have to act that way every single day. So now is the time for us to stand together and say, we want a different way, and we want a different future. And we can make that future together. So thanks for being here, and keep doing the hard work.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, and I'm honored to serve with him as well. Ward 8 is within District 62, and Soren is also someone who has constantly been showing up. In fact, I remember during post-murder of George Floyd, Soren was outside, and himself is a victim of police violence and actually lost an eye in that. And instead of backing down and hiding and just saying, you know what, I did my part, what did he do? He continued to organize, and now he's the new member of the City Council representing Ward 8. And so, thank you so much for showing up and stepping up, Councilman. Next up, we got the University Board Regent Kowsar Mohamed, representing at-large, who's also a newly appointed regent. She's a good friend of ours, a good friend of mine. I want to hear from you, Kowsar, about what are you hearing from our students? What are you hearing from our campuses? What are our campuses doing to keep our students safe? What resources are available? And I know you're also part of the Student Protection Team. You can talk a little bit about that also. Kowsar, welcome.
So I feel like my senses are on super drive right now. I think it's been like this since November of 2024. And so being in a predicament like this feels very tough. I know many of us have not slept, have not really had a sense of normalcy for some time. Right now I'm leaving my community members back home in Cedar Riverside as they develop their own internal command system. And so outside of the various hats that I hold, the first hat that I hold is community. The first hat that I wear as being a community member. I grew up in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. I was born on the south side, and now I represent one of the largest institutions in this state and this nation. It's one of the longest standing institutions in the state. The University of Minnesota was established before the state became its own establishment. And so I want to recognize that it's a wool-eyed mammoth of an institution. It's a $5 billion enterprise, and I'm one person out of 12 regents, right? And so what I can note right now is that we recently did hire a new chief for the University of Minnesota's police department. He just started earlier this week. We are bringing him up to speed around what is happening across the landscape, but also what is the response level that is needed across our system. The really unique factor about the University of Minnesota is that we have a 5 campus-wide system. We are not homogeneous in identity or creed or ideology. And so it creates this really tough parameter of how do we meet the need of our constituents, our staff, our students who are located in Crookston, Rochester, Morris, Duluth, and particularly our flagship school in the Twin Cities campus. In many ways, we are fortunate that many students were not here currently because they were on winter break. So right now, it's really for us to start thinking about emergency prevention, mitigation, and response as students begin to come back after MLK holiday. And so we've already created a federal updates hub on our websites. We already have guidance to our students. We are also advising all of our colleges and our deans and chancellors to be aware of accommodations that student and staff and faculty may need, to be able to offer a hybrid option and allow folks the ability to opt in or opt out. Because again, we are serving the entire state of Minnesota, and we recognize how delicate this situation is right now. Do I agree with all parameters? Probably not, right? But I will continue to represent this great state. I will continue to represent community, and I want you all to feel very confident in being able to message me. I will try to respond as quickly as possible. This is a volunteer role. I don't think a lot of folks know this. Regents are not paid for this position. It is a volunteer board opportunity to serve this state without any staffing or support really particularly provided. And so we are here to serve you all. We are here to serve our students. We are here to serve our faculty and staff. But we are in a very particularly tough situation as a public land grant institution that needs federal dollars to survive and keep the lights on. And so we really need our partners in the system to think through strategies with us, to think about how do we think about the future beyond this current state. We really need to think about what are we gonna do to keep the lights on in Minnesota. We have the entire weight of the federal government upon us right now. And so we have to start getting creative. We really have to start thinking about what are the systematic processes of how we re-engineer this crisis, right? And so that looks like, similar to what our representative was sharing today, doing boots on the ground work. I had to brush off my community organizing skills and get back into the field. Right? You really got to get back in the field, y'all. And if that means asking questions to learn about how to do organizing work, how to think about what does violence look like and how you identify violence early and how do you curb this level of violence we are here to be able to serve you in that way, right? And again, really the notion of we are not martyrs for this cause. We as Minnesotans are not martyrs. We were not created to be martyrs for this cause. We love life, and we are here to have a good life and to survive this and come out of it thriving. And so thank you all for showing up. We are in a very tough predicament, and so I'm here in community with you all. Feel free to reach out at any time.
Thank you so much for our Regent Kowsar, because right now things are scary for our students. As the chair of the Higher Education Committee, I heard countless stories of students getting picked up off of campus from not just our public institutions, but also our private institutions. And so I appreciate your responses to that, Kowsar. Next up, we have Ward 9 City Council member Jason Chavez, is also a great friend of mine, who is an organizer as well, representing the South Side, born and bred. And so, Jason, welcome.
Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Chavez. I have the honor and privilege of representing Ward 9 of the Minneapolis City Council. But most importantly, I'm the proud son of Mexican immigrants, something that I hold very dear to my heart, especially during the very difficult times that we're living in. I want to talk about a little bit about what we're seeing, what we need, and then how you can expect your elected officials to show up in this moment. So, I don't need to really explain it to you all, but you all know what's happening in our neighborhoods. We're literally seeing masked agents with long guns showing up to bus stops and picking up our neighbors, showing up to schools a block or two away, waiting for a parent to show up and picking them up. We're seeing racial profiling happening at an all-time high. Very difficult to hear about my Native constituents literally being picked up by ICE because ICE thinks they're Latinos. Like, that is like the country that we are living in. The color of someone's skin, my Native brothers and sisters, because their color of their skin is literally brown, they're being picked up by ICE. Like, have we thought about what that actually means in this country? That the way that you look is literally now a target by this federal government. And I want to say that, and I hope that sinks in, because that is happening to people that live on your block, people that live in your city, people that live in this state. Some, we don't even know where they're at right now. We're on stolen land, and they're being disappeared. Let that sink in. Throughout this past few weeks, I don't even know how many times I've blown this whistle, how many times I've seen disappeared. Too many people. But I want you all know what I have also seen. I've seen the power of this whistle, like Representative Gomez was talking about. I like to call it like the whistle of resistance. Like, this is the symbol of resistance for this country. Because the amount of times that I've seen people kidnapped is too many, but the amount of times I've seen us actually get ICE out of our freaking neighborhood with this whistle has been so many times. And it is a good feeling to be able to tell your neighbors that that ICE agent has been kicked off this block and has been chased down back to Whipple. Because what that means is that neighborhood and that block in that particular moment, neighbors that want to go to work or are in fear in their homes can feel a sigh of relief. And I'll say one more thing about this part before I talk about what we need to do. If you haven't been on the streets, that's okay. Like Representative Gomez said, now there's whistles out there before you leave. The time is now. What I am hearing from my immigrant neighbors, particularly those who speak Spanish on a daily basis, is that Minneapolis residents are heroes. Folks are literally showing up on small businesses, posted up to let neighbors know that ICE is there. They are literally patrolling their neighborhoods, honking their horns to let know ICE is present. They are literally driving their neighbors to work, providing food, rent assistance, and they are showing up. And I want you to hear what that means, because my community is calling the people of this city and the state heroes for doing that work. So if you haven't been out on the streets, know that there are people that are silent because they're too scared to speak out because of the moment we're living in, that are calling people heroes. And you know what we need? They may have 3,000 people in this city, but let's get 10,000 heroes out on the streets. Let's put them and let them know that this city will not allow ICE to operate at all. Because, one, I don't believe in its existence. But also, yes, that's a part of being boots on the ground. but we can also expect more from all of us as elected officials, because we're also supposed to take action. On the City Council, Councilmember Stevenson, myself, Wansley, and Osmond authored a resolution, and I'm gonna ask you all for support, because when you go home, we need action. Neighbors don't want to go to work because they don't feel safe, but they have to go to work because they have to pay rent, they have to pay their groceries, and they have to pay the bills. So how do you address the symptoms of what we are experiencing? If people can't afford rent, but they're going to work and getting stopped by ICE, why the hell are we telling people to go to work? And then eventually, if they don't go to work, they're gonna get evicted from their apartment. So we need the governor, and this is for Governor Tim Walz if you're watching, call an eviction moratorium or a state of emergency. And when we call a state of emergency, we're gonna take action on the city council and pass an ordinance that is going to allow the city to do an eviction moratorium. Let us do our job for our residents here in Minneapolis if you don't want to do it for the state of Minnesota. And I'm saying that out loud because in this moment, it is not time for tweets, Facebook posts, and Instagram posts saying you love your immigrant neighbors. It is about policy. Pass policies to show that you care about your neighbors. So, we're going to be doing that in the city of Minneapolis. We're going to continue to put more funding into immigration legal services, rental assistance, and you should expect more from your elected officials. And I'll say this, if they are not doing anything, vote them out.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Chavez, representing the South Side, Ward 9. And so that will conclude the panel portion and the presentation portion. We wanted to give you guys some time to ask us questions directly. There's a microphone up front. Originally, we were supposed to go until 7:30. It is already 7:30 because we talk too much sometimes. But that's one of the reasons why I was the host. But for folks that want to come up and ask questions, now's the time. Please come up. Mike, I see you walking up also, so please. The microphone's right there. Or if you're too shy, also an introvert.
Okay, yeah, I know, right? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm honored to be here with all of you today. I'm chairman of the American Indian Movement here in Minneapolis, and I just want to say that no one is illegal on stolen land. We've had a lot of people in my community suggest that the governor call out the National Guard for the hospitals, the schools, the synagogues, the mosques. What do you guys think about that? How would it work? Because Trump is just waiting for something to spark to start the Insurrection Act. And we think that's gonna happen on Saturday when the march comes. Miigwech.
Thank you. Ilhan, who would like to answer that first?
Ilhan?
That's a really good question. Obviously, we want the governor to utilize all of his authority in defense of the residents of Minnesota. I do not want for the residents of Cedar Riverside and Kowsar, who I've had the honor of watching grow up. I'm gonna age myself, it feels weird. You know, I know that there are a lot of young people who are organizing in Cedar Riverside. My ask would be that we do not give oxygen to these hate mongers and these people who want us to live in fear and feel inferior, because we are not. We are equal residents in this state and in this country, and I don't think we need to be out in mass defending that, because we are proud of the fact that we are immigrants, and some of us are descendants of immigrants, and yes, we are proud of our Muslim faith. And so my ask to community, and I've talked to a lot of people, is that we deprive them of the oxygen. and we make sure that they disappear without getting their moment of glory on the backs of us.
So what about the National Guard to protect us against that?
Yes, if the governor does think that that would be helpful and it does get to the point where he needs to utilize them to protect us, I welcome that.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna limit, if that's okay, I'm gonna limit the questions to one response per person, if that's okay, because there's a lot of persons.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. My name is Jessie Holman. From the Whittier neighborhood. For my block chat specifically, we live near the Whittier Elementary School. Specifically, we want to know what protections are being currently placed for schools and children across our district. Somebody gets up. Wait till somebody gets up. No.
Okay, Tessie, yes, so I am not, I don't represent the public schools at all, but as a parent who has kids going to public schools, what I have seen around schools is people like you protecting driveways. I was on my way to St. Paul this morning, and I live just about 6 blocks from 34th in Portland. So when I turn on what is that, 35th to get on the freeway, I passed by Green Central. I saw 5 parents with whistles standing at 2 driveways. Parents and residents are taking it amongst themselves to keep our schools safe. My kids' school went on lockdown earlier this week. It was a code yellow because ICE was spotted 5 blocks away. So schools are locking down, schools are going towards online learning, but I would ask that residents mobilize. You heard Representative Gomez, you heard Councilmember Chavez say that everybody really, and Councilmember Stevenson say that it is really on us, right? ICE is acting outside of whatever we've ever seen before. So I would want to do, and in fact I might, do some volunteer stand watch at our schools during dismissals. There's a lot of parents doing that during lunch breaks, right? During arrival times. Anything that you as a neighborhood organization think would be helpful, do it. And I think keeping watch around the schools would be important.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we are, like Whittier, like we had 50 people show up for like school, like let out yesterday. We're only getting bigger. We had over 800 people show up Wednesday night for our community. Aisha, I guess we just wanted to know specifically if there's anything like at state, city level that kind of like a blanket kind of like policy going on, or is it just in each individual school, like on their policy of handling ICE, I guess.
Their parents or their community.
Yeah, so is it just like, hey, school by school?
Yeah, I can talk to this about the state a little bit, and then I'll pass it out to someone in the city if it's okay.
Yeah.
In 2023, I was a chief author on some legislation on a bill called the North Star Act, and it was essentially a sanctuary state bill. And in that bill, it wasn't just about law enforcement interacting with ICE. It was also about how we can engage with our schools so that our student data is protected and that our students are not compromised. That's legislation I'm going to bring back again this year and hopefully pass. There's going to be a whole host of legislation that's going to be drafted this year in regards to immigration, in regards to ICE, in regards to how we protect our students from senators and representatives. In fact, I believe a good number of those will be bipartisan as well, surprisingly enough, because we have a good number of Republicans that are also fed up with what's happening. And so, in fact, I think the ending qualified immunity bill legislation this year will be carried by a Republican. And so things are slowly changing because of what's been happening. When I first initially introduced the legislation around the North Star Act, it was met with hostility by not just Republicans, but some folks within the party also. But now folks are starting to wake up. and I think that we have a very good chance of getting it across the finish line. So, but that will take you showing up also. We need you to come to the Capitol. We need you to knock on the doors of every representative, every senator. I know you've already been showing up in community, and I greatly appreciate that. But we need everyone to turn up and come out because it's going to take all of us. So, thank you.
I can be quick. We're not the Minneapolis Public School District or its board who have their own government and make decisions for families, students, and the people of Minneapolis. But there are a lot of families and parents and folks organizing to expand this online learning for a longer period because we don't know when ICE is going to leave Minneapolis. That's just a sad reality. And folks have been communicating to some of us up here about wanting to have children at home because they're scared to send them to school. So I would encourage anybody in this room, if that is something that you would like to see, to directly contact the school district. You all have a school board director who is supposed to listen to the needs of particular districts based on what constituent feedbacks you are hearing. And I will repeat the eviction moratorium part because that is a big part. If our kids and their parents get kicked out the rental unit and end up being homeless or end up being put in a difficult situation, that is only gonna impact our public schools, our teachers, our educators, our students in a more difficult situation. So like, we wanna make sure that we can keep people in their homes, and that is a way I think that the city and the state can step up in figuring out how to help with that, so. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your question as well. Thank you, Council Member. Because of time constraints, we'll take one last question. I apologize to everyone. If you do have questions, you can email all of us. And also at the end, because of the space that we're given, I'll stick around also to answer questions one-on-one, or folks can answer one-on-one questions also. So I really apologize, everyone. Yeah, and if folks wrote questions on cards, please pass it to Raquel, who's standing up here, and then we'll try to disseminate it amongst the panelists. So I really appreciate all of you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, no pressure here. So my name is Abiola. I am a public health nurse practitioner and a birth worker. And I am asking this question actually for Commissioner Conley. And my question is, we understand what is being done to support families who have just given birth or who are currently in the prenatal period at home, but we also know that virtual visits don't solve everything. So wondering if there is something to be said about the work that, at least in Hennepin County, HCMC is looking into doing with home visiting nurses to get vaccines in the home, or even what we can do as birth workers as we're bringing clients into the hospitals, or ways that we can support our clients in feeling safe as they give birth during the midst of this.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for what you do, by the way. Thank you so much for what you do. You save lives. You save babies. Thank you. So part of that whole government response that I was talking about, Operation Reconnect, does include expanding family home visiting. So again, if you can't come to us, we are prepared to come to you. And we're prepared to give our partners resources to make sure that you can safely get your patients to the clinics, to the hospitals that they need to be at. I had a constituent reach out, ask me if there was any way that she could get support to escort a client that she had to an appointment, because the person was missing the appointment out of fear. We don't like that, right? We don't like that. We want you to get to your medical care, and so and feel safe doing so. So you will be empowered through the partnerships that we have to get people to their visits safely. If they don't feel safe and it's a visit that can maybe be done in the home, that is something that we have mobilized to get done. It's with resources that we already have budgeted for. We just don't want to run out. But we don't know how long they're going to be here. But for as long as we are occupied, Operation Reconnect in Hennepin County will be stood up. And so part of that is, again, emergency mental health and all of that. But the most critical part, I think, is making sure that people like you are supported and our patients are supported in their homes. And when they do need to be at the clinic or when their emergencies do arise, that they are safe in getting there, safe in getting home, and that you, as their doula and for other birth workers, that you are safe doing that as well. So that's all a part of this emergency response that Hennepin County has stood up. Family home visiting is a part of that for as long as we need it to be. Thank you.
Thank thank you all so much for taking the time this evening. And I want to thank the panelists also for participating this evening. And so tonight you learned a lot, you heard a lot. My hope is that you take that knowledge with you, you share it with your neighbors. You heard a lot of great advice, especially from our council members, Representative Gomez saying, show up. We need you guys to turn out. There's 3,000 agents. Minneapolis has, what, 500,000 people close to it? There's more of us than them, right? Yep. And so we gotta show up with the whistles. Yep. And so we gotta show up. If you don't have a whistle, please, at the care desk right now, pick up a whistle on the way out.
Grab a handful for your block, your family.
Grab some for your
There's
block.
extras.
Please, every single person in here. In fact, we have security here that'll pat you down to make sure that you took a whistle. You have to take it. And so, no, it's not gonna happen. But if anyone that had questions that were not answered, I'm happy to stay here and stay back. I'll speak for myself and answer those questions, and I'll conclude with that. So thank you all so much, and again, thank you for the American Swedish Institute.
I have a question that I want the room to hear. Can I just ask really quickly?
Yes, go ahead.
So Senator Aaron Quaid posted a video of a 911 call in regards to the man who was shot over North Minneapolis, and it paints a very different picture than what DHS is saying is happening. So I'm wondering why MPD hasn't released that 911 call and why it's not being reported by the media.
I will ask for it tonight because I actually want to see it. It was, well, no one should be shot. And it's just disgusting.
Well, Trump is threatening the Insurrection Act over the guys that neighbors attacked the DHS agents with shovels and brooms, but the video shows that he was just trying to get in his house and he got shot by ICE agents. Those are two very different stories, and I think the country deserves to know that that is the narrative that's being pressed on this.
I'll ask tonight.
Yeah.
Hi, so I've been at scenes where DHS had to release a statement afterwards. 3 times now. And I'll tell you, every single one of those statements was an absolute lie. And we know that every time they say anything, it is for the purposes, we know what they said about our neighbor. They got up and called her a domestic terrorist. An unarmed neighbor driving down the street trying to comply with directions that she was given by these like undertrained clowns who don't know what they're doing, and the 2 people are not communicating with each other whatsoever. And so, like, you're absolutely right that their accounts cannot be trusted. We have to hold our media accountable to not be stenographers for propagandists in this government. So thank you for your question. We're not gonna forget what these people did. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
President Ocasio-Cortez isn't gonna be nice to you.